Good morning, colleagues. My name is Mokwadi Mokgano. I'm the Senior Manager in the CPD and Registrations Department at the South African Pharmacy Council. Thank you for joining us for this workshop. We hope it will be fruitful, and then you'll get some lessons on what you need to do in order to apply and be registered as a CSP or Community Service Pharmacist. I'm not alone today. I have members from the Department of Health and also other members from the SAPC office. I'm just going to start with the quick introductions. We have Mr. Christian Songo, who is from HISP, which is a Health Information Systems program that supports the NDOH. In our midst, we also have Mr. Gerard Vermaak, who's the Assistant Director at HIRIS, also from the NDOH. We are expecting to be joined by Mr. Victor Kanyile, who's the NDOH Director, Human Resource Information Systems. All right. From the Office of the Registrar, which is Council, we do have Mr. Madimeja Mashishi, who's in the CSR Department, Natalie Eben and Nora Mugoka, who are also in the CSR Department. We also have Dr. D.N. Johnston, who's the Manager in the in the Pre-Registration Unit or Department at the South African Pharmacy Council. All right, so we'll begin with the presentation. As soon as Mr. Kanyile joins, we'll give him a moment to address you, but we will continue with the presentation. I'll now hand over to Mr. Vermaak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologies, I forgot to mention the most important person in the session who will do the presentation, Ms. Munkatso Malatsi, who's the manager in the CPD and Registrations Unit or Department. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to confirm if Mr. Kanyile is online. Oh, he's phoning me now. Mr. Kanyile? Yes, sir.
Mr. Vermaak, if you can just mute yourself there. We also have Nokutulam Simango and Diego Tegwani, also from Communications and Stakeholder Relations in our midst. Thank you. All right, so while we're waiting for Mr. Vermaak, we are approaching the end of the year, and we know that you might be anxious regarding placement of CSP for next year, but Mr. Vermaak here will allay your fears in his presentation. If you know that you are close to being successful in the pre-registration year, then you shouldn't worry. You've applied for CSP. All right, let me just give Mr. Vermaak a chance.
Sorry,
Mr.
I just want to inform Mr. Victor Kanyile try to join us. So I don't know if someone can add him or to the group or stuff, because he's got a live event, but it seems that he can't. Nobody can hear him, or so I don't know if someone can join, give him access. Admit him, please.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Vermaak. I have sent him a request to join. Unfortunately, if this doesn't work, then we aren't able to add any more presenters at this stage, but let me see if this works quickly.
Yeah, while we're waiting, once again, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kanyile said he will, I can go on with the presentation, and then he will, as soon as he joins, we can just go on with him also. So I will start with the presentation if that's fine.
That is fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for this opportunity. As I mentioned, my name is Gerard Vermaak from National Department of Health. I just want to give some guidance or indication of what's the process regarding community services for pharmacists. Now, community services is a community service policy in the health sector was introduced as an important intervention to ensure the availability of human resources in underserved areas and to provide an enabling environment for new professionals to acquire experience. In terms of the CSP, health professionals are legally required to complete a year of community services. So meaning what it's saying is that our focus are underserved areas. That's our main priority, to place community services for that year. And then we usually did it previously years, we did manually that whole process of allocate applicants. So we've developed a system with HISP South Africa, and that helped us develop a system. Now this system is divided into three simple processes for users. That's user registrations, verifications, and post applications. Applications and post allocations and swaps. Those are the main areas that we focus on to assist applicants to do the ComServe for that year. And then we say filling of available posts in health establishments with the greatest need will take preferences. So like I mentioned before, is that we prefer, preferences is to allocate first applicants to those areas we are in the need of health professionals. And let's go to the next slide. So the annual cycle process. Now, I just want to give you a guidance on what's this is a top level guidance on what's the process on how to apply. We say that projections, obviously projections take place from the beginning of this year. We request all our higher institutions, faculties, and councils to provide us with projections of how many applicants do they foresee will come into the next cycle. And also, we have to gather information from provincial departments, what is their needs, and they have to submit that plans. Then, after we receive those projections, we preload all those information. So, in the pharmacist case, we requested the Pharmacy Council to provide us with all those applicants that will come into the system, for example, for annual cycle 2023, of which they will provide to us, and then we will upload that data, basic data, already on a system. Also that we receive is bursary data from provinces, and then also posts that we receive from provinces that we can load onto the system. So all this is the background data information that's been gathered, and we upload and prepare the system. For applicants, when they start their process, everything must be ready. So when we open a system for applicants, the first process is that applicants will only be able to log onto the system. They receive login details, they log in, and then they will have to verify their details, meaning like contact details, addresses, personal cell phones, telephone numbers, and to confirm that they are really applying for, in this case, example, pharmacist. So that type of verification takes place before we open a system for application, so that we have your correct details. Then after that verification process, we start opening a system for applicants to start applying. So applicants are able to see a post on a system, and then they can apply against certain posts. Obviously, there are certain rules according to the guidelines that you're only allowed to certain posts to apply for certain posts, or so, depending on what, if you're a bursary holder or whatever rules are applicable to you. After application is closed, we close the system, and then we run the algorithm. So like I mentioned before, that with previous years it was done manually. So now the system is doing automatically that allocation. So all the rules are built into the system, and it will look at your rules or how you apply, special considerations, bursary holders, all those types of things, and it will allocate you according to your choices or according to availability of post. After application is closed, we do have exchange period where we allowed applicants to exchange with other applicants. So, for example, if I'm in one facility, I'm not I'm not comfortable or not happy to be in this facility, but I know of someone else that's been in another province or another facility. If I'm allowed, I can swap with that applicant online. So, but both parties have to agree to that swap and initiate it on the system. After a swap and exchange period, we do, we call it the appointment period. So the system closed, the swap's closed, you have been allocated to your facility. Then we release those final results to provinces, and provinces will then start with contracting phase, where they will contact applicants and say, listen, you have been allocated to, example, Steve Pico. Yeah, we need to start signing contracts, and you have to start 1st of January. That's the agreement between you and the provincial department. So from the appointment period on forwards, it's the agreement between you. The appointment contract is between you and the facility that we was allocated to, and that will be according to the Appointment Act of Government, that you will be appointed according to that. After this whole process, we have a review of those, the whole year process of how it went, what needs to be changed, what needs to be amended or updated or so. That is just our monitoring tool at the end of this. So basically, in a nutshell, this is our process. So let's go on to what happened now in the 2023 cycle, where we stand as is. You will see for projections, we received a total of 1,371 projections from the beginning, before we like I said, beginning of the year, before we open a system for verifications, we loaded all the projections that we received from the Pharmacy Council. They gave us all the names. So this is the applicants, but still need to be verified if they are eligible later on. So at that stage, we received that total of 1,300 projections. So when we've done the process of applied, applicants have to apply and verified on the system. We have the total of 954 applicants that verified and applied on the system. At this stage, we're only looking at South Africans and permanent residents. So we're only focusing at this stage on those citizens group. So a total of 954 applicants applied and verified. Currently, on a system, when we closed the system for application, remember we had to run algorithm. As of the algorithm date, we had 730 applicants that we could have allocated. That was applications was correctly on a system. They indicated a start date. They could start in 1st of January. So these applicants were no issues that we had, and we experienced no difficult. That is the total of numbers that applied in the end of the day. So you will see there's a difference of there's only 77% that pharmacists that was allocated, but I'll get now to you of those applicants that was not allocated. Next slide is applicants who rejected. After we've done now the swaps, the applicants had the opportunity to accept or reject their post. And currently we have about 26 applicants that rejected their post due to various reasons. So you'll see it's about 3.5% of applicants of the total that reject. Now, some of the quick reasons is that applicants are further studying their master degrees. There are applicants who are saying that they confirm they are not eligible. They will only become in mid-year cycle eligible. Applicants that start later in the year. Applicants that also they've got personal reasons that they will not be able to accept those posts they've been allocated. And there's some applicants that saying that that's what not some of the choices that allocated visit was not of their choices. But remember, applicants can apply to 5 choices, and it's not a guarantee that you will receive one of your 5 choices. Yes, we would love to give everyone the 5 choices, but we only have, example, 1 post at the facility. And then there is 50 applicants that are applying for that 1 post at the facility. And according to our business rules and ICSP rules, we have to look at certain criteria to allocate applicants. So therefore, some applicants was placed outside of their choices. And therefore, they rejected their allocations. Now, also another thing regarding rejections, if you rejected the post, you will have to be put back in line to be allocated in a later stage, but first we need to cater for all applicants that have not been allocated. So currently there is 125 applicants still to be allocated on the ICSP system. Various reasons could be the factor that the applicants have not been allocated. Some of the applicants, they did not complete their application forms correctly. Example, a start date. Most of the applicants did not complete the start date when they will be able to start. So that is why the main reason was some of the applicants was not allocated the first round. Applicants applied after the closing date. After we closed the system, the applicants still inform us they forgot to apply or whatever issues was there, so we have to help them to apply. And then also remember, we submit all the applicants' data to the South African Pharmacy Council, and the Pharmacy Council need to verify that applicants are able to will be released to be able to start ComServe. That is considering if your placement awaits you being successful in a pre-registration examination and competent in CBD. Your allocation will be reviewed as soon as the SAPC informs NDIH of your successful completion of the pre-registration examination and completion of your CBD requirements. And then also, we did not at this stage, as I mentioned, allocated any foreigners or refugees. Then all applicants who will only be able to start after end of March will automatically be moved to the mid-year cycle. That is due to posts are restricted to financial year and that type of thing. So all applicants after March will have to go apply for mid-year cycle. Now, the process to allocate all the current unallocated applicants is that we did request the Pharmacy Council to confirm with those list of applicants to see if those applicants are eligible according to their results of exams or CBD points. We are busy reconciling of all the posts of resources. And then also after the feedback is being received from the council, we can see all those applicants that still need to be allocated, and then we will make provision for that. And then also on allocations depending on availability of resources. Now, the timelines of the ComServe allocation process, as some of you don't know, we do not only cater for pharmacists, we do catering for 17 other health professional fields of study. And and we had about the projections of over 12,000 projections totals of applicants that we need to do allocations for ComServe and for internships. So for pharmacists this year, they fall under Group 2 with the medical officers of internship and ComServe and physiotherapist. Now, as you know, that we closed the system on the 4th of October. We ran the algorithm of the 7th of October. So like I said, after we closed the system, applicants could log tickets if there are issues. And we could only run the algorithm after all tickets was closed. So we ran the algorithm on the 17th. By the 21st of October, we opened a system for applicants to exchange, the swaps to exchange until the 28th of October. And the final results was released then on the 31st of October, whereafter provinces will start engaging with applicants with their contracting phase. And like, as I mentioned, we have different groups to cater for all the different fields of study. Just to continue, is that we did also accepting of the post. By the 4th of November, applicants had to accept or reject their post. And then the 7th of November, that final result was released to provinces, and they will start monitoring and see how to start contacting the applicants and with the contract phase. Now, like I mentioned, the mid-year cycle, all applicants that will not be able is eligible to start in the annual cycle will be carried over to the mid-year cycle. That process will start from January. Obviously, the opening of the system will be later in the year, but the process will start to get all the data to see all those applicants, carry them over. And the start date for the mid-year cycle is the 1st of July. Then before, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions, if there's any questions raised, before I will carry over to the next module that also ICSP related for a demo.
Thank you, Mr. Vermaak. I just wanted to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Victor Kanyile in our midst. Before we move on to the next presentation, which is done by ICSP on the demo, I would like to find out if Mr. Kanyila would like to say a word or two to the current interns who will in the next year be our colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Kanyile.
Chairperson Ntate Moakadi, thank you so much. My honorable colleagues online, particularly Mr. Gerard Vermaak, who just did a quite important and eloquent presentation. Thank you for the hard work. To all other colleagues from HISP and my team, I really appreciate the hard work that you have pulled through within a reasonable time to make sure that this program, particularly for this 2022-2023 annual cycle allocation, becomes a success. To my prospective colleagues that are on the edge and final year of their studies, those that have completed their internship program, ready to start and serve the people of South Africa, let me start by congratulating you for all the efforts, the time sacrificed, and all the hard work that you have done up to date as you complete a milestone in your life of starting to join what we call the working class. Please pass our appreciation as well to your families who have also sacrificed you as individuals, but amongst other issues, they also sacrificed mostly their household incomes, making sure that they do give you all the support you require financially with all the resources in their midst, to their availability as minimal as they are, in ensuring that you complete your qualifications thus far. We thank them. We really appreciate everything that they have done. Colleagues, as government, we indeed have introduced this community service program for a particular reason, to ensure that you avail yourself and sacrifice to serve the people of South Africa who indeed depend on the health sector, which is the public health sector. And we know that it's also enshrined in our constitution that we have committed government that we will ensure that we provide health services to all South Africans, particularly those that live in it, citizens, permanent residents, and any other person who finds themselves to be served in South Africa. We therefore thank you for choosing a good career in joining the health sector. We indeed are short of health professionals that are pharmacists, and your qualification and yourselves as individuals are really going to be making a difference in ensuring that the numbers that are short are alleviated to the most minimal. We assure you of our commitment as government to ensure that the community service program will work. We will partner with yourselves as prospective employees. As you see, we've already partnered with the Pharmacy Council, and the wheel has already been oiled. Indeed, it wasn't a simple journey. In 2017, when we introduced the online system called the ICSP, we did have teething problems and challenges like any other new systems. However, with all the stakeholders that has given us support, your student sisters and brothers who came before you, understanding that the system is at its initial infant stages, gave us support and worked together so that yourself, as you come in, enjoy these particular benefits of the system that is now oiled and it's on the its peak, as one can say it. Thank you, Gerard. I mean, you can see that to date we were able to can allocate quite a number of yourselves, just over 900, if I'm not mistaken. And with the partner that we have in the private sector under the CCMDD program, we thank all the partners in ensuring that we continue to serve the people of South Africa wherever they are and with all the demand that they require. Chairperson and colleagues, I share the very same sentiments as my minister and also the Minister of Finance, who has indeed availed additional funding to the value of 1 billion to ensure that all interns and community service are given an opportunity to can work or deliver under this ComServe process. As a department, we are busy now reviewing comprehensively the community service system policy, and we will be engaging with everyone who has taken part and those that are prospective people to take part to ensure that the evaluation is as comprehensive as possible. We have indeed ensured that we consult as broadly as possible, and we also keep the most important person in our mind, and that is our clients, who is indeed our patient. Bakoleboa, Kialeboha, thank you, Baya, Ekvartierdet Baya. Thank you so much for this particular opportunity. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Kanyile, for those wise words. And I think the interns are proud to have, the Department of Health that supports them and also goes all out to create opportunities for them to do community service. Thank you once again. All right, Gerard, I think you were done. So I think you were about to show us a tutorial. I think it was Christian who was next to present. So I'll hand over to both of you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. I will hand over to Christian. Then I will be excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Thanks.
Okay. So my presentation, it's more of a demo of the what we call the ICSP Online Assist. Basically, what do we mean when we say ICSP Online Assist? It will be a bot system which works with the Telegram, where applicants can get the opportunity to log in and check their results, to check the more like when we are going on the system, on the ICSP online system, you can log in and you can check your verification if it's done. You can check if your application is up to speed. You can also check your results where you are allocated. So basically, that's how this bot works. Right now, it's not running as per se, but this is just sampling for you to see how it will work when it's commissioned, and when it's running. So I'm just giving you a demo, and I just have some words to say before to say this demo, because we are just doing a survey to see, to test the performance, also using us as the applicants to see how it's running. And we are also requesting those who would want to take part in the demo. And the disclaimer I have here is it has no any barrier on your allocation. Like wherever you're allocated, nothing changes. And to those who are not yet allocated, like what Gerard was saying, that you'll be allocated maybe in mid-year cycle, or we are in the process of verifying with the association or with the council. It's not a ticket to say you are going to be allocated, but we are still following the process as what Gerard was saying. So here I would request maybe some applicants or some who would want to take part in the survey. Then we'll choose who sent you after we have your names. We can then send you the link of the Telegram. Then after you have done the survey, we'll also send you the link like the Google form to tell us how you were experiencing. Was it slow? Was it giving errors when you were doing? Because for us, we were doing the thorough check of how the survey, or rather how the bot works. So here I'm just going to demonstrate quickly, not take your time, because I'm already here on the Telegram. So what you do when you come there, you type start. So all the things will be there. So when you type start, it will then ask the name we give it. It's called Ask Tanya. That's the name. So here you can see it's saying, looks like I don't know you. Let me quickly authenticate you. Then I'll type 1 to say I want to proceed. Then it will ask me to enter my ID number, which is my username. So when I enter my ID number, just like how we do the application, it will then request your password. So here I'm going to type my password. It will be hiding this, but because we are just doing the test, so here my password, it's test123, and even the ID, it's not a correct ID. It's just for the testing we are doing. So you can see it then gives you your name. In this case, my name is TesterBot. It then welcomes you. Then you check if you want to check your application status, if you want to check your facility choices, if you want to check your allocation result, if you want to submit a ticket, it will take you there, then you can fill in. So in this case, let me check my result, because I think we have created a result for this person. You see, it then indicates your allocation status is you are allocated to Charlotte Maxeke Hospital. Then it will also ask you what else do you want to do. If say you were, when you applied, there were some queries you want to do, you can pick to submit a ticket. So when you choose to submit a ticket, it will then take you to our ticketing system. So it will then take you outside the bot. Then you go to the ticketing system, like how you do even when you are doing the application in the correct time. Then if you want to check your facility choices, like I've just said, then it can work out for you. Then when you are done, then you can log out. So the reason now we wanted you to help us in taking part in the survey, it will help us to modify, it will help us to improve the system with the recommendations you are going to give us. So with the assistance of our teams, I would request maybe if there are some who can take part in holding the survey within the applicants, like we can open a poll where they can just volunteer to say, I would want to take part in the survey, and we'll take down their names, and we'll send them the correct emails with the link. Even like now, as we are testing, you can even see your results as well. You can see the queries just like you are working on the ICSP online system, which can also be interesting for you, because as you are testing in real time. You are also testing on the system. So yeah, basically that's all I have concerning the bot, the ICSP bot. And I would request to the chair that maybe we can open a poll, and those who would want to participate in the survey, they can give in their names, and we'll get hold of them maybe tomorrow. Basically, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Songo. We appreciate it. Yeah, I think let me just quickly see if we have questions. But if you'd like to participate in the survey, maybe you can just provide your details and just say you'd like to participate in the survey on the Q&A there. We hope it doesn't, affect the questions that we receive in terms of the, the order, but it's fine. I wanted to find out if you have any questions, if you can just type in the Q&A for both the first and the second presentation. Yeah, and then I think Natalie will assist us to read the questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Makodi. We have a couple of questions. The first one is from Nsikelelo, who asks, I'd like to ask concerning accepting the post. The time when I was accepting the post, I was able to choose the commencing date for next year. Will this affect my application or start date next year?
I'm not sure who from the department will take that one.
Okay. For me, I don't know if we can have more of the questions, then we can then answer than one, because some of the questions might be similar, and Mr. V can assist us in answering some of them, and whatever he feels I can answer, I'll then answer.
All right. I'm not sure if you'll be able to write down a lot of questions at one time, but it's fine if you want to do it that way. We can do it that way. And Natalie, we can read the next question. You got the first question, Mr. Songo?
Yes, I got the question, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. For those not placed yet, how will the process be given they pass the coming exam? The facility I've been placed at does not have a nurse's home or workers' cottages. Will we be given time to settle in the area and find accommodation means? How long do we wait for the province to contact us? The last question, with the confirmation of appointment, will we be contacted via email or phone call?
Okay, thank you so much. I think I can let Mr. V, if he can assist, then the ones he will let me, then I'll answer. Mr. Kanyile?
Thanks. Thank you so much, colleagues. Chairperson, once more. Indeed, I just want to alleviate the fears of all applicants to say that this is a statute obligation, which was initiated by government. Therefore, government is obliged and responsible to make sure that as and when excuse me, they do have a platform for them to can be able to, do community service. So we have only two management of limited this adequate supervision. So in terms of our allocations, those that have been allocated, we expect them to assume duty on the 1st of January. And we are of the opinion that they have already engaged or started engaging with their prospective employer, who is the province and the facility concerned. If you know that you have challenges, you are unable to start on the 1st of January, you need to inform your employer accordingly. It's like when you are not able to attend a lecture class, you do inform your lecture so that they make provision for you and also manage your start date. Remember, your allocation and appointment is aligned to what we call a service delivery model. So your absence means that we have thousands of South Africans left unattended because they rely on you to get their medication. So it is important that on the correct or agreed on start date, you are entering into a new contract with the employer and need to honor it by being there as per the date agreed. I was talking to those that have already received their allocation and ready to start, and probably they are on the verge of finalizing their contracts with their prospective employer. Karate has just presented that there is still people awaiting allocation, which is just over 119 and some odds. Those will be allocated. However, they will be allocated in terms of their available date as confirmed by the Pharmacy Council. Remember, your employment needs to be aligned with the registration. So we have to make sure that you are eligible for registration as well as appointment. Indeed, we do have limited resources. However, as I've already mentioned, it is government's responsibility to make sure that we allocate you. If we allocate you at an unfamiliar area, what is an unfamiliar area? It's an area where you probably don't even have family, friends, or any person, and there are no quarters for you to stay. We will indeed make arrangements that, number one, you get what we call home owners allowance that would assist you to can get a place to stay and also give you ample time for you to relocate to the area. We don't want to have a stressed pharmacist serving our people, because that would indeed, circumvent the situation, and that's not what we want. I think the other third question is the modus operandi in terms of how communication would be. Communication would be in different ways, and it would be efficient and effective, a reasonable so by the employer or prospective employer. In some instances, you will indeed be called if you will definitely be called if you are unreachable. You will get emails. In some instances, you might even get what we call SMSs or WhatsApp. So there's variants of communication towards you. Please, if you are unable to get hold of the facility and time is running out, don't be shy. Make sure that you get in touch with us, either at national or provincial level, or the coordinator, and be assisted accordingly. Thank you. I'm not sure if I've answered all the questions. I would be informed if there's any still outstanding. Over.
The accommodation. There's one of accommodation. Someone was saying the area they were allocated, there's no accommodation.
I think Mr. Kanyile did respond to that. He talked about the homeowner's allowance. where you'll be afforded a chance to move so that you're not stressed when you start work on the other side.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you so much.
All right. All right, Natalie, I think we can move to the next batch of questions.
Okay. Do we have to make contact with the institution we are placed at with regards to the contract, etc., or will they make contact with us? I started my internship on the 7th of January 2022, so the council will release me on the 6th of January 2023, I assume, meaning on the commencement date, I should write the 7th of January 2023. If there is a ComServe at your allocated status and only started in March, will I be able to start in January? Approximately when will refugee who have passed the exams and completed all CPDs and successful be given an opportunity for placement? My ICSP says KZN placeholder. KZN is aware of my institute in KZN, but NDOH isn't. Will this be a problem?
Natalie, let's leave it there for now.
Okay.
Anyone to answer that one? That batch of questions?
No, thank you so much. I think the modus operandi, as I've already mentioned, of communication should be dual, reciprocal in a sense that if you are not being engaged, you need to at least call or send a message to ICSP so that we get the coordinator to get hold of you, because they might have missed you while trying to get hold of you. In terms of the asylum seekers as well as refugees, in terms of the Immigration Act of 2002, they indeed will be given an opportunity after all South African citizens and permanent residents have been allocated, because that's the law in South Africa. And they will be given an opportunity dependent on availability of resources. I'm not so sure, Chair, is there any other question? I hear there was one in particular. The person who has been allocated, I think, by the province and national doesn't know. The province needs to communicate with us so that we align our information with theirs. Is there any other one?
Okay, Mr. V. I just wanted to say the national, we know that it's a KZN placeholder. So when you are taking your letter and when we sent our list to the province, they already know that the place is placeholder and they have the place for you. So when they are going to call you, they'll be now telling you the exact post where you're going.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Christian. I think the other important question was, I started my internship on the 7th of January. I'll be completing it on the 6th of January. So can I start employment on the 7th? Arrangements of employment is dealt with at the facility and your manager concerned. I am under no obligation that you must start on the 7th, but they might even say to you, please start on the 1st of the coming month, because they have to get an approval through a submission of your employment. So it's indeed dependent on the facility concerned. Those that would start April, indeed what we try to do is to accommodate them within the available resources. But obviously we will have to prioritize and accommodate those that can start 1st of January, 1st of February, March and April. If you are dishonest and saying, I'm able to start 1st January, and on the date you don't come, they try to get hold of you, they still can't. The province reserves the right to can remove you from the post and give it to the next available person, because you were not honest about your actual start date. So I urge all people to be honest so that we make provision for your start date. The post doesn't wait for you, since it is aligned to service delivery. We can't wait 3 months for you to start in April and people not being served. I think you wouldn't want that to happen to any family member of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanyile and Mr. Songo. Natalie, I think we can take the next batch of questions. Thank you.
If your internship ends on the 31st of January, does that mean you will only be placed in the mid-year cycle? How do we go about getting homeowners allowance? Sophia from YouTube asks, I have still not been contacted by my employer, although I have already received a post allocation. Should I be concerned? I started my internship on the 2nd of January, but moved to another facility on the 15th of February. Does that mean I'm going to start ComServe in February or in January? How much does a community pharmacist earn? And the last question, is there a deadline for when we should expect communication from the province?
Let's start with the latter. Communication is ongoing. There is no cut-off date. Most provinces must first do submissions for approval before they can communicate with you. So give them some time, and as I've already mentioned, if you see that time is quite going, please engage your coordinator in that particular province who is able to assist. If not, we at National will come in and assist you. The other one, I think the issue of completing 31st of January, I've already said that. If you are honest to say that I'm eligible to take a post on the 1st of February, some of the positions indeed start 1st of February, and we will allocate you. What won't happen is that you can't swap with a person who can start 1st January, because you would indeed be disadvantaging the facility concerned. I'm just reading here. I don't see my handwriting, but there were other two important questions that I wanted to. Oh, how do you get home owners allowance? It is an automated salary in your department that you will be given all the available benefits that you would be entitled to, amongst others, inclusion of your leave, all types of leave, benefits like your home owners, and any other benefit that you are entitled to, which has been signed off in terms of Resolution 3 of 1999 in the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council. I thank you. I don't know if there's anyone that have left.
Okay, Mr. Kanyile, there was a point on the one who's saying they changed the facility. Are they? I think that maybe the council can help us. Is it when you are calculating your days, you will then?
Yeah, I think, Christian, you are right. They have to answer that one. Leave it there. Don't ask them. The question is very clear. Yeah, okay, just in the interest of time, I'm also getting into another meeting which has already started.
All right.
If the council can help us to answer that question. Over.
Thank you. I'm just looking for the question. What was the question again? Sorry.
The question was, if I've started my internship like on the 1st of January, but due to other reasons, I had to move from one facility to the other, when will be my ComServe start date? Over.
Thank you. In terms of the ComServe start date, the ComServe start date will not change. However, should you move without informing us, for instance, let's say you move, you inform us after 2 weeks, it would mean that the 2 weeks will be added to the total amount of days that you need to complete. So meaning that you'll complete your CSP around the 14th of January, but your start date will still remain. But so it is important for interns or for CSPs to inform us before they move that they are moving. They can apply for a change of facility before they move, at least 7 days or 14 days before they move, so that it doesn't affect them in terms of the additional days that they might need to be added to their service at the end of the community service. So we urge you to submit those applications on time, at least 7 days prior to you moving, in order for you to still complete on the 31st of December at the new facility or pharmacy. Thank you. All right, I think that question is answered. Do we have more questions, Natalie?
We do. Will the council release us, or will our tutors have to do it? How do we find out who our coordinator is? How much is the homeowner's allowance? I've been allocated to a private pharmacy. Is employment still done through the province, or should I reach out to the pharmacy directly? Does that mean homeowner's allowance is negotiated with the facility itself and not through the NDOH? Who is eligible for homeowner's allowance, and what is the criteria?
Natalie, are those all the questions?
For the moment, Mr. Mokhana, yes.
All right. All right, I'll answer the first one, which says, will council release us, or is it our tutors? Actually, in our next presentation, we'll address council's requirements and what you need to be able to register as a community service pharmacist. But yes, council will release you once you've met all the pre-registration requirements, meaning that you've been deemed competent in your CPDs, you've done 365 days of internship. You've also submitted all progress reports, or your tutor has submitted all progress reports, and the final progress reports where they release you to say that you are good to go. And yeah, that is all. But in terms of other additional requirements, we will present them in the next presentation that is to come. All right, I'll hand over to the department to answer the remaining questions. Thank you.
Look, colleagues, I tried to stay away from giving you your benefits because we at National, we allocate you, we match you to a post. Let's not steal the show from the employer who's the facility. I mean, there will be an HR manager there who takes you through all the benefits. All the questions that you're asking will be answered by them. However, just to say that we pride ourselves as the employer that through our occupational specific dispensation that has been signed in government, our health professionals are paid quite reasonably in terms of the work that they do. The homeowner's allowance, you are entitled to it whether you have bought or you have rented. The amount, I do not have it here, but your human resource manager, your prospective manager will inform you of the benefits appropriately, accordingly, and also giving you documentation that is there. The amount cannot be negotiated. It's signed as a resolution in the Public Health, Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council. So it is a done deal. The employer cannot say, no, you look a bit taller, you will get more, or you are shorter, you will receive lesser. The amount is equated based on the resolution itself. I'm not sure if I've answered all the questions.
Yeah, there's one of the private pharmacy to say how am I going to get hold through the province? So that one, we as we sent the list to the provinces, we also sent to the private pharmacies for them to get in touch with you. If they haven't got in touch with you, you can check with us, and we can check with them as well. But we have already forwarded those lists to them, and within this period, like Gerard explained, between now and the 31st, they should get hold of you. Thank you.
And the other question was, Christian, How do I know who my provincial coordinator is? In my understanding, we do have a list of all provincial coordinators per field of study, their email addresses that is on our website, which is ICSP. Please tell me if I'm correct, or that
Yes.
information will be updated in the near future.
Yes,
Indeed,
Mr.
the information for private sector allocation, it's outside government. So we will not be sending your name to a facility or hospital that is government, but to that particular institution or facility that is a private sector, either Discam, Clicks, or any other that we have partnered with. Over to you, Christian. Can you confirm if the list is available on ICSP? Yes or no?
Yes, Mr. Lee. The list is there, and all what you've said.
Chair, I have to
Thank
rush.
you.
My other meeting has already commenced.
All right. No, thank you. I see there aren't many new questions. Can I ask Natalie, are there any more questions?
Yeah, but I know Christian is also capable to take them up. If there is a difficulty, I wouldn't mind to be sent an email, and I will respond accordingly to ensure that I satisfy everyone who's online. I wouldn't want to leave any question unanswered, because these are my prospective employees, and they have come to government, and welcome to the employer of choice.
Thank you, Mr. Kanyile. We will do so. Enjoy your evening. But we'll do the last batch of questions for these two presentations.
I thank you so much. And to all of you, good luck. Please don't hesitate to contact us. We are going to walk with you through this journey. We need to make it very interesting, very enjoyable, something that you would remember as you're taking now the first level of employment, entering into a contract of employment that is binding, and you need to ensure that you understand all the prospects of employment. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair, for organizing this beautiful meeting. Please do not hesitate to approach us and invite us in the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Will do. Thank you. Bye. All right, Natalie, let's take the last batch for these two presentations, then we move on to the SAPC presentation. Thank you.
Does Council have a rule about interns not being able to take leave in December, as it's our last month of internship? If we need to relocate, would a day or two of leave not be beneficial? Is homeowners allowance and rural allowance two different allowances, and is it possible to receive both? If the tutor doesn't submit the 45th, I think it's supposed to be 4th or 5th, progress report, can it affect my placement? When does the final progress report from the tutor need to be submitted? If you're only starting your ComServe in March and you've indicated upon accepting your allocation that you are starting in March, do you also need to inform the facility? A question from Shanice on YouTube. I was informed that the facility I'm placed at does not take ComServe pharmacists. This was confirmed by the provincial coordinator who has contacted Mr. Vermaak, but no response yet. What should I do?
Okay, sorry, I didn't get the last question. You said, I've been informed?
I was informed that the facility I'm placed at does not take ComServe pharmacists. This was confirmed by the provincial coordinator who has contacted Mr. Vermaak, but no response yet. What should I do?
For that one, because what happens is it's the provinces that load the post. So there is no way they can now come to say that there is no post on a post they gazetted, because every post is gazetted. So they can now come to say it's not there. But still, the room is there for you to write a ticket to us. Like you're saying, it has been communicated to him. I can just check with him to say, did you receive an email like that, so that he can verify with the province. But normally it doesn't happen that way, because all the posts, they come through the the provinces, their HOD, and they are verified, and then they are then captured for ICSP for placements. So yeah, if I'll check with Gerard later on. Then the issue of the start date, I would say if your start date is in March, normally the annual cycle, it runs from the 1st of January to the 1st of April. But if the facility wants someone to start by the 1st, they have the right to withdraw the post if, say, they want someone to start there. So when you are accepting on the system your allocation, normally the system asks you, before you reject, it asks you to state your start date, and we forward that start date to the facility. So as they are going to call you during this period, they can call you saying, we know you are going to come the beginning of March. We know you are going to come end of March. So they'll be having all the information at their fingertips the moment we release the list back to them. Then the tutors, I think that the Pharmacy Council can help us about that, because to us, when all we know is all our information, it's controlled by the Pharmacy Council, except for the interns whom they give us to say these are interns. Then we also check with the institutions of higher learning to say, is this person going to make it? So we send all that information already, and they've told us who is going to make it and who is not. So we have that information from your universities. Then the homeowners and the rural allowance, in my understanding, it's one and the same thing. You can't say you get the homeowners and you also get the rural allowance, which all is governed by the provinces who's your employer, like what Mr. Kanyile was saying. So I think the issue of the tutors, it's also touching the first question, which was of the interns. We have those interns maybe who were allocated in this round, but they know they are not going to be able to start. Some of those issues, they are handled by where you are going to be allocated, because some they want someone to start by the 1st, some they want someone they can accommodate, or they can wait for you until the 1st of February, 1st of March. But the key was for you, when you were applying or when you were accepting your allocation, you were supposed to state if you are ready to start by the 1st or you are ready to start by the 1st of March, so that you are giving them the room to correct or to work their issues. So the problem is some, they just say, I'm starting by the 1st because they're afraid of losing the post. But in doing so, you are also jeopardizing your allocation, because by the 1st, they'll be waiting for you. Most of them, they are very lenient. They can create that room to wait for you. I think I've answered that.
Thank you, Mr. Songo. There was a question on whether council has a rule regarding taking leave in December. We do not have any rule. In terms of the internship, the running of internship is as per conditions of employment. So if you can negotiate leave with your employer in December, you are more than welcome to, because leave is incorporated in the 365 days that one is supposed to complete their internship, right? And the other one is if the tutor doesn't submit the last progress report, will you be released? Obviously not, because all the reports must be in for you to be released from internship. Obviously, if you've met all the other pre-registration requirements. And the last one was, when is the final report submitted by the tutor? The final report is submitted by the tutor on the 45th week of your internship. So all that information is available in the intern and tutor manual. I think those are all the questions for this session. we will leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Songor. And we also like to thank Mr. Vermaak and also Mr. Kanyile for joining us for this session. It's really appreciated. We will now move on to the next session, which is the SAPC presentation on the registration requirements. And that will be done by Ms. Monkatso Malatsi. Over to you, Monkatso.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhano. Welcome everyone to this wonderful session this evening.
Monkatso, just to mention that you're not sharing the presentation there. You're sharing another screen. Yeah, now we can see it. You can just make it a full slideshow. Thanks.
Can you see my screen?
You're no longer sharing the presentation. You are sharing the Teams. Try to share again, Katso. Yeah, we can see your screen. If you can just go to slideshow there at the top and then share in slideshow mode. Thank you. Over to you. You're muted. Thanks.
Thanks, colleagues. Thanks, our honorable guests, the CSPs in the midst, as well as the prospective CSP this evening. I will be taking you through the registration process from the South African Pharmacy Council side, just to take you through the website functionality as to how you can register as a CSP for 2023. The format of the workshop today, I'm not going to take you through the introduction again, as Mr. Mkhano has already done that. We have also received some wonderful messages of encouragement from the Director Human Resource, Mr. Kanyile. We have already had a presentation as well from Mr. Vermaak. So my duty now is to take you through the registration process. My name is Monkatso Malatsi, and I'm the CPD and Registration Manager in the Office of the Registrar, the Pharmacy Council. Thank you, colleagues. I'm not going to bore you again to reiterate the fact that CSP is a statutory obligation and is also regulated in terms of the regulations relating to pharmacy, pharmaceutical service in this country. So as professionals, you are all currently required to go through this process. Just on my slide now, I take it that you are all community service pharmacists, or some of you are, as I've alluded earlier, you are looking forward to commence with this process for 2023. Just to mention that, this process is regulated in terms of Section 14A of the Pharmacy Act 53 of 1974. And for you to go through this process, you should have completed your Bachelor's of Pharmacy qualification and internship year, which is a minimum of 12 months, depending on how you progress as an individual. Okay. So as a qualified pharmacist, you should perform 1 year of remunerated remunerated community pharmacy in this community service in this country. And yeah, once you have complied with all the pre-registration requirements, as my colleague has indicated earlier, which is a completion of 365 days. I must also indicate that this is also a minimum, because you might as well find yourself, doing more than that, depending on how you progress, and if there are hiccups in the way that we have also seen previously. So yes, you will do a minimum of 365 days as under a tutor, submission of favorable progress report by a tutor. You will also be required to be competent in about 6 CPD activities, and your tutor will also have to submit. You'll also have to be successful in pre-registration examination, and your tutor will also have to submit a favorable progress report. And once you comply with all that, you will be released from the register of interns. And once you are released, you will be eligible to register as a pharmacist for the purposes of performing pharmaceutical community service. My colleague has already taken you through the ICSP process, which deals with the applications for CSP as well as placements. So from our side, all that I will be doing tonight is just to take you through the website so that you know where to click and how to navigate our system to register as a CSP. On my next slide, as you can see, you will have to log on the system. And obviously, as a registered person, you should have your PIN number ready. You should also know your ID as well as your password, which we assume that you are not sharing it with anybody, so that you are able to, register on the system. So once you have logged in, you will go to the a tab of registered person, which will also take you through to the tab for you to register as a CSP, which is the tab for pharmacists. Once we have logged on through that tab, you will also see, as it's indicated here, the number of tabs, but then all that you do, you go to a tab, written CSP, and that's where you will click to, move further. There were questions asked earlier as to, how do you go about registering? What are you supposed to, comply with before you are registered as a CSP? For you to register as a CSP, you'll have to be released from the registers of interns or from internship. And how this process unfolds, from our side, interns are auto-released from internship on a daily basis when they have met all the requirements for internship, or as and when they meet the requirements for internship. We do bulk releases annually in December, which gives you, a period of 15 days for you to be able to register. So we will normally release you from internship, even though some of you might have not complied with the 365 days, and that will give you 350 days of practical training. So come the 15th of December, the Pharmacy Council does bulk releases, okay? And that gives you the opportunity to, be able to move around and, move to your place where the Department of Health would have allocated you. So, which means from the 16th of December until the 16th of January, you will have that opportunity to, go through the process and register. So don't wait till the 11th hour. Okay. So this period gives you the opportunity to register. So there's also note that the system will revert to the daily releases of intern meeting the same criteria come the 16th of January. So utilize this period to register. Also note that this provision, as I've alluded earlier, is to assist you through the process. So you are still expected to meet your contractual obligation with the facility where you are performing your internship currently. Don't take an advantage that I have been released from the Pharmacy Council and you just disappear. Okay. So this is just to assist you through the process. So as a registered person, you are still required to meet all your contractual obligation of 365 days, even if you have been released. So how do you register as a CSP to perform pharmaceutical community service? As I've indicated earlier, you should have met all the requirements for internship, though you will be released 15 days earlier. So what is required from your side is to, log on the system as I've indicated earlier and submit your application with all the supporting documents. By supporting documents, we mean the job offer that the team from the Department of Health have spoken about. For some of you, you might get also an acceptance letter or an employment contract, depending on where you are or who the employer is. You are also required to upload a copy of your qualification, your degree, your BPharm degree. For those of you who are foreign nationals, you will also be required to upload your valid endorsement certificate, clearly indicating all the conditions applicable to you, that you are registerable with the Pharmacy Council as a CSP. We have in the past received applications with endorsement letters where our colleagues have attached endorsement letters allowing them to seek employment and not necessarily registration. So from our side, the expectation is by the time you come through to us, you should have a valid endorsement letter clearly indicating where you are allocated to work as an individual. In addition to these documents, you are also required to, upload your proof of payment if you have made an EFP payment. But then if it's a credit card, you can do your payment directly on the system. Please also note that if your application is submitted after the 23rd of December, it's possible that it might only be processed in January due to the December holidays. But then from the Pharmacy Council side, we do try our best to assist even during this festive season. Also note that once you have been signed off as an intern and you have already embarked on this process, awaiting to start, you are no longer an intern, and therefore you do not have access to the scope as an intern, as a pharmacist assistant, until you are registered as a CSP. Just to give you an example of an appointment letter that I have alluded to earlier, I have provided here an example of a job offer, for performance of community service in the provincial. Have received or you will receive in the near future. Sorry. Hello? Can you still hear me?
Yes, Monkatsa, we can hear you.
All right. Okay. No, thank you. Yes. So I was still saying this is an example of a job offer that you might have received or you will be receiving in the near future to work in most of the provincial department. It might differ here and there depending on where you are. And for those of you who will be allocated in the private sector, your appointment letters might be different, but then still, it will still suffice. Okay. In addition to the offer, like Mr. Kanyile and Mr. Vermaak have indicated, provided here as to when you will commence with your employment. And yes, I'm glad that Mr. Kanyile emphasized the importance of being honest and indicating the exact date that you will resume your duties as a CSP, and that you will also adhere to that. Because otherwise, as you have also indicated, a chart CSP were not able to start on time for whatever reason.
You keep breaking up. Can you just explain this slide again, the acceptance letter? Thanks.
Okay. Now, thanks, Natalie. Here, I was just giving an example of an acceptance letter. This is just to, assist the process in a way, reiterating what Mr. Kanyile and Fermak have indicated earlier with regard to being honest in indicating the actual start date that you will commence your CSP at whatever facility, which commence date should be in line with what you will be choosing on our system. So for those of you who are in the private sector, your process might differ, but then yes, you will also still have to indicate the acceptance of the position you have been allocated to. How do you verify that the site that you have been allocated to is eligible for placement of a CSP? On our side, I note that Mr. Songwe has already indicated that for them to place you, they would have verified those facilities with the provinces. But then, yes, on the Pharmacy Council side, you are also required to, note the site that you have been allocated to and ensure that you indicate it as such when you apply. And if in doubt, feel free to liaise with the provincial department, the National Department of Health, or the HR in the province where you have been allocated, just to make sure that you choose the correct facility that you are allocated to. So for you to register, you, yes, require the facility, registered and recorded with the Pharmacy Council as a pharmacy. So all you do on the Pharmacy Council website, you will go to the tab Registered Organization, and you can make a search of pharmacies registered with the Pharmacy Council for allocation of yourselves to perform community service, community pharmaceutical service. Okay, you can also make a search of those facility by going through that the tab, the search tab, and you will also note that over and above the facility, there's also more of the other things that you can search on this page. Make sure that you have the Y number of the facility where you are allocated handy. If not, you can also do a search using the facility name, as long as it is registered on our system. How do you register as a CSP? Just to reiterate, once you have logged on the system, you will be able to locate a number of tabs, but then all you do, you'll go to the tab for applications and allowing you to register as a community pharmacist. You can also, check your balances there in terms of your financial standing with the South African Pharmacy Council. You can also, view your letters and certificates. For those of you who are still awaiting results, you can also check your results there just to make sure that you have been successful and eligible to register as a CSP, though by virtue of you being able to access some of this information, it clearly indicates that you have met the requirements. Otherwise, when you log on the system will only provide access to the applications, letters, or any other information related to your register. If you work in if you are allocated to work in the public sector, all that you will require for you to register will be your Y number, if you know it, or the name of the facility, if you know it. For those of you who have been seconded to a private sector facility, you will note that for some of you, you have been given an HA number, but then please just make sure that the facility where you are allocated is linked to the HA number, because that will allow you to be able to, use the Y number of the facility to register online. I do not have to reiterate the fact that the date of commencement that you have to indicate on our system has to be the date that you have accepted from the institution where you are allocated, and make sure that you commence your CSP as indicated. This slide is just to indicate to you that for you to register as a CSP, you'll have to have been released. When you register, you will attach all the necessary documentation that I have indicated earlier, including your appointment letter, your acceptance letter or contract, or your job offer. And then the date that is indicated there should be the date that you indicate on the system as well. Okay. And if you register on time, the day will be allocated to you. So just make sure that you make your application on time, since you will have about 15 days in December for you to, ensure that you are registered, which is sufficient time to, ask whatever questions that you might be having during that period. Please also make sure that the facility where you are is recorded with the Pharmacy Council, to take CSP. I know Mr. Songe has also clarified that as well. But then, yes, just make sure that the facility where you are allocated is recorded. But then if the facility is not recorded, you don't have to despair, because it becomes your responsibility to make sure that you take advantage of that, learn the whole process of recording as well. So because you might find that the facility is in the process of recording, or maybe they were just waiting for you to come through so that you can assist them with the process, to also ensure that they, as a facility or as a province, they are also able to offer quality pharmaceutical service in the province. So whether recorded or not recorded, take that opportunity to also learn, for as long as that facility is registered with the Pharmacy Council. My apology, for as long as that facility is on the Pharmacy Council website for registration. On this slide, I just want to remind you of your scope of practice, which scope of practice you have been performing as an intern. So this is not new to you. The only limitation is that once registered, you are limited to work at that facility unless authorized by the institution to offer, pharmaceutical services elsewhere. So I don't have to repeat your scope of practice, as you have been practicing that during your internship year, and you have also learned so much, with your CPDs as well, since you have been required to participate in the CPD portfolio. On this slide, what happens when you finished your community service? As I've indicated earlier on, community service, like internship, is actually a minimum of 12 months, depending on how you progress. For those of you who, for whatever reason, you get interrupted, it might be more than that. But then, yes, for you, this coming year, you will be required to perform remunerated community service of about 12 months. And once you finish your 365 days, the head of the pharmaceutical service in that, province, or if you are in the private sector, it might be the head of pharmaceutical service of a group, or if you are you will be working for an independent pharmacy, it will be the facility itself. So once you have met all the requirements for community service, the head of the pharmaceutical service will release you from community service. And once the Pharmacy Council receive confirmation from the institutions I've indicated that you have performed your satisfactory community service, the limitation will be uplifted from yourselves. So you don't have to phone the Pharmacy Council for you to be released. course, the head of pharmaceutical services are doing that from their side based on the satisfactory report. On this slide, I just want to share some of the frequently asked questions about CSPs. Some of the questions that we have received in the past. The first one being, can I, as a CSP, work as a locum at a private facility after hours? Like I've indicated earlier, it depends on the conditions of employment that you will have to fulfill. So yes, you will require authorization for you to do that. So basically, you are allocated to facility, the facility where you are allocated for the period of 12 months, unless authorized otherwise to work elsewhere. You have noted in the previous slide that we have also mentioned the issue of complexes with some of the provinces have. So you might be allocated to a work number, but then because that pharmacy supports clinics, CHCs linked to it, you might find yourself working there. And for that, you don't require any authorization. It is part of the service required in that province. But then if you are to move out of the province itself for you to, perform a service elsewhere, that cannot be allowed unless the province itself or the institution itself is willing to, assist in that area. So basically, you cannot be performing locums during this period. Can a CSP be a responsible pharmacist? Yes, as a CSP, you are also allowed to act as a responsible pharmacist, and hence on my earlier slide, I have also indicated that you might find yourself having to assist with the process of recording. And as part of that process, you will be required to act as a responsible pharmacist. Can a CSP tutor pharmacy support personnel? Definitely yes. As a CSP, you might be required in the province where you be allocated to also assist with the training of the pharmacy support personnel. So don't be surprised if you are immediately asked to assist in that process. And you are also encouraged to assist in the developing the human resources in the country. Can a CSP tutor an intern? As I've indicated earlier on, as a CSP, you are practicing the scope of practice of a pharmacist, just like an intern during their internship. You cannot tutor a person at your level without experience, but then that should not stop you from, assisting in the institution. I think I have. Hello?
Doctor, we can hear you.
Okay, no thanks. It looks like I lost network. So what happens if your placement as a CSP is delayed? I do not have to, repeat what Mr. Kanyile and Mr. Vermaak have indicated earlier. But then all that I can say from our side, once you are released from internship, you may not practice as a pharmacist intern or as a pharmacist assistant until you are registered as a CSP. Okay. But that if for whatever reason the delay is more than anticipated, there is a process that allows you to register to practice some of these scopes, but then you will have to provide proof coming from the Department of Health that the process has been delayed for whatever reasons, and you can submit that on our side to assist the process. But then without that, you are not allowed to access the scope once released from the register. This permit that you will acquire from, this authorization scope that you will require from our side, allowing you to perform the scope, it will be for the period indicated and only that. Should it expire, you will have to come back to the Pharmacy Council again to, ask for extension. I will also have to indicate that this process, requires a fee. It doesn't come free. Yes, so you will also be required to pay a minimal fee for that. Colleagues, this was my last slide. Like my colleague has indicated earlier, there was an attendance register accessible to you. Just make sure that you have made sure that your name is there and we can confirm that you have attended this session. Thank you very much for honoring this session. And I hope that the 3 presentations today have assisted you immensely. Thank you. If any questions, we are available to assist.
Thank you. Munkato, if you can go back to that previous slide.
Which
not
one?
this
one?
Yes. If you can, to fill in the attendance register, no, not this one then. The one you were at now. The next slide.
Which one, Mukat?
The next slide. No, the one that had the QR code, the attendance register.
Okay. I was here.
This one, yes. All right, to fill in the attendance register, you can just use your phone there to scan the QR code, and then you can fill in the attendance register. So scan the QR code that's on your right there to fill in the attendance register. That would be appreciated, whether you're on Teams or whether you're on other social media platforms like your YouTube. You can do the same. If you can just fill in that attendance register. Munkato, just leave it there. I just want to ask the attendants, the people attending the session, to indicate or to type their questions if they have questions. for this session they would like the office to answer, and we'll be glad to answer those questions. So at the same time, if you can just complete that attendance register, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Natalie, are there any new questions so far?
There are, Makwadi. We have a question from YouTube. I am unable to get hold of Mpangeni Correctional Center as it is under construction, and I started my internship late. So we'll start my ComServe in February. How do I make my employer aware of this? Makwadi, do you want me to do it in batches again or one by one?
We can do it in batches.
Okay. If there, excuse me, if there are concerns that you will not be able to start on the 1st of January, who should you contact to make this known? How much is it to register as a ComServe pharmacist this year? When is the system going to open again for CSP placement for those who did not apply in 2022? Is the onus on us to pay for accommodation out of pocket when we have been placed in another province in which we know nobody and no accommodation or rural allowance is given? Does homeowners allowance cover monthly rental costs, or is it a once-off amount?
Yeah. Natalie, let's leave it there for now. Let me see. Oh, I see Christian is still there. All right. Okay, thank you. I'll tackle then the second question. You asked about the question about how do you get hold of the employer as the employer's facilities under construction. Is that the question, Natalie?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think maybe Christian can answer that one. Right, and then the next one is not able to start on the 1st of January. Who do you contact? Christian, I think that is your question there. And then the other one was how much does it cost to register as a community service pharmacist? All right. In terms of the fees, the fees for this year for next year have not yet been published. But look out for a board notice on the fees that will be published, and also when you apply online, the fee will be there so that you know how much you need to pay, and also you need to upload that proof of payment. So yeah, look out for that board notice towards the end of this month. All right. I don't know, Christian, would you like to tackle the other questions? To say a person has been placed at a facility that is under construction. I'm not sure if that.
Okay. It will be tricky for someone to say it's under construction. Are they saying it's not offering community service? Because for us, any facility that has been gazetted, that has been, like I said earlier, there's already vetting for them to get a license to be able to do community service. So if they are under construction, it means that facility wasn't going to get a license to do community service. So my other question would be, is it a private facility? Is it a government facility? But if there is that, we still encourage them to write and to log a case to us, then we can assist in investigating a facility, because I know some might say, I remember we had another case in Northwest last year where a facility got banned. So we should be aware of that. But like here, if it has been gazetted, I don't think it must not be able to accommodate CSPs, but they can log a ticket and we can assist to investigate on that, or even for them to be moved to another facility. Then to us, especially if on the private sector, most of the private sector, maybe I can clear that, most of the private sector, they don't offer allowances. As we are partnering with them under the CCMD program, they are just assisting us on that program. And most of them, they don't offer. Some might, in your deliberations, offer that in your remuneration. But in most cases, the figure that will have been gazetted by the department together with them, they don't offer some of those things you might see in the government. Basically, it can be different, but accommodation, it's mostly offered in the government facilities. And these homeowners, I wouldn't know the figures. And like what Mr. Kanyile said, it's easier for you to be negotiating or discussing that with your new employer, which is the HR of the facility you are going to. And all those facilities, they are going to call us. We need to be patient, but you also have the room. If you go on our info site, there is where it's written details for the provincial council, the provincial offices. You can go there, their phone numbers, their emails are there. You can contact them and you can verify whatever you want to say. I'm allocated. When am I going to get my letter? You have the right to do so now that the results are released, the final results. So we can go and ask them. And most of the issues, when you get your placement letter, you can actually speak to them, negotiating or whatever that will be presented. So there are some facilities that don't offer in the private, but in the government, if they don't, there is that allowance like Mr. Kanyile said. I don't know if there's a question I missed.
Okay, there was a question to say, if I'm unable to start on the 1st of January, who do I inform or contact?
Okay, if the issue was you were supposed to indicate when you were accepting, but if you are sure now that you can't, you just need to log a ticket. I know we have a backlog of tickets, but eventually your ticket is going to be attended to and we can update that on your behalf. Then I think there was another where someone asked if I didn't register. I think if you checked on Mr. Vermaak's presentation, he mentioned to say the mid-year cycle will start in June. So normally the process will start as soon as the annual cycle ends from the 1st of April going forward. The mid-year will start. So that's when they will notify to us who wants to take part for the mid-year cycle. So I think as from March, April going forward, you can be checking on our information website when it will open, then you can apply.
Thank you, Mr. Songo. I think we've covered all the questions. We'll move on to the next batch. Natalie?
I've opted to start on 1 January, but the current ComServe only finishes at the end of February. Does that mean I'll have to wait for the ComServe to finish, or will I be moved to another institution? If the current ComServe contract ends in March, can you start in January regardless? If you wrote the exam in October and it happens that you were not successful in it, would you be expected to come back to work in January until you write another exam to be released as a ComServe? When are other group of placements going to be released? Is there going to be any 2023 ComServe applications for those who started their internship after June 2022? If homeowner's allowance and rural allowance is not the same, and my facility does not offer rural allowance, then how am I supposed to pay for accommodation? With regards to picking the start date, some of us were unable to accurately state the starting date due to the fact that we were only able to write the exam in October and are hence still waiting for the results. What happens if I do not pass the exam?
Natalie, let's leave it there with this batch. Mr. Sonko, I don't know if you want to go first.
Okay, let me tackle. Firstly, I see the questions will continue repeating, and I know because applicants will be anxious and they'll be having challenges too. So the system, how we did it this time, unfortunately, we are having this meeting after the allocations are finalized, which I think the previous years it was easy because we are talking of things before which can assist us to do the application well informed. So this year we did it a bit different because our target was we wanted to make sure by the 31st of December, everyone is allocated. And we are glad that as much as we, like what Mr. Kanyele was saying, we did exceptionally well because I think over 80% of applicants were allocated in their first 5 choices. If it's not 95% were allocated in their first choices. So for the pharmacy, how we allocated, we got the people who wrote exams. The first batch was in, I think it's September. Then we got another batch that wrote in October. Then we got the ones who were not allocated before. So we combined all those ones, including the interns, and we allocated everyone on the posts that were available. So I know some of the applicants who are saying they haven't been allocated. Some of them, they didn't write exams. And some of them, they failed exams according to the records we got from the Pharmacy Council. We had not yet also considered the CPDs grading like we always do. But the issue from where we stand, you will realize that you are still going to be not to be able to start if you, as much as you failed, I mean, as much as you passed the exam, your CPDs are not in. As much as you passed the exam, your CPDs are in, but your thesis, the results are not yet out. So you are going to see, as much as you are allocated, those things are still like in your way. So a lot of this process, we are always emphasizing to applicants, push to write the exam early and make sure your CPDs are in early. As well as if you are an intern, it should be the same because facilities, when we come to the 1st of January, they might want you to start the 1st of January and they can't take you to start the 1st of February. I know like Eastern Cape, we have that challenge. We also have that challenge in Western Cape. So in all those places, so I just wanted to say this process which we use this year, which will answer most of the issues. So if you have failed an exam, you can't start ComServe because according to the records we got from the Pharmacy Council, you have failed. So it means you have to wait for the next exam where either you are now going to be considered for the mid-year exam. So that has to be clear. I think it will answer a lot of questions that came from this batch. The rural and the homeowners, to me, how I understand, it's the same thing. And you can't say you'll get both or not. And all those issues, like we keep on saying, if I continue saying things and your employer is going to say different, you are going to say national said. So like what Mr. Kanyile said, let's leave that to your employer who is going to be your province. Discuss those issues with your HR. I would say for even the other people whom are still having challenges on that, let your HR, your new employer, explain those details to you. And like I said, for private, you are not going to get, because all the private, they don't offer unless there's an arrangement with your new employer in the private sector. I don't know if I've skipped, because I tried to just compress everything there.
Yeah, I think there was a question or two to say if the current CSP is ending their contract maybe in February, can you start in January, for example?
Okay, thank you for that. If you are starting in January, I mean, if you are ending in February, you can't start in January because you haven't completed your clinical hours and all those issues that are in your way. So you won't be having released by the pharmacy council, because when you get to the facility, they will want to see that you are released. That's why I was trying to say we have allocated everyone, but you are going to see that if your CPDs are not correct, the pharmacy council will not release you. If you have failed the exam, actually all those who have failed the exam, we didn't allocate. Because of that reason, because we'll be just delaying the process for nothing. Then if you are finishing in February, you are only ready to start because the employer will want to see your release letter from the pharmacy council.
Yeah, Mr. Songo, I think they wanted to ask to say, can there be an overlap? You've got a CSP currently at a facility because they are only becoming CSP next year. Who's completing their CSP end of February, for example? And they have been appointed to the same facility or placed at the same facility to start in January. So that they are asking, are there enough posts to accommodate both, or they have to wait for the one that is completing in February to be out of the system before they can, start their CSP.
Now I get you. I get your question. I get your question. The issue there is, to me, all the facilities, when you were applying, it's only that this year there wasn't training. You were going to see that it will show you how many posts are available. It will show you if the facility offers accommodation, if the facility requires you to have a driver's license. It will also show you the start date of that facility. So as you are going to receive your letter, they'll tell you, because it's now a give and take from the employer. If you are ready to start the 1st of March, they can say we can wait for you. Some, if you are ready to start the 1st of January, they can say you are starting in February. I can give an example, like in the military, when they are taking you to start ComServe, there are some processes they do, like fingerprints, to check if they do even more diligent checks if you didn't commit any crime, if you are not a foreigner, if you have. So that process, I think it takes a month, which means automatically, even if you were ready to start the 1st of January, you might start the 1st of February. We also had such cases for those who were employed by what do you call it? SAPRA. Because SAPRA, they also do more of those checks. So normally you have a 1 month delay. So sometimes, yes, those things but your employer, as they give you the letter right now, they will state that delay. But of you waiting for someone, yes, it can be there, but normally it's you and the employer who will, when they give you the letter, they will tell you that that post is going only to be available on this date, which you should have seen during application, because all that information, when you're applying, it's there. Then it was going to give you that decision to say, if they're saying this post is going to be available in March, why should I take it if I want January? So some were taking, which I think is why they are now asking this question, because when you're applying, the system indicates when that post is going to be available. So you can't start in January if when you were applying, it indicated that it will be available in March. I don't know if I've answered correctly there.
Thank you, Mr. Songo. I think all the questions have been answered for this batch. We'll move on to the next batch.
What is the next step to take if a pharmacist intern contract is terminated with only 30 days left to complete the internship and all the progress reports, summary of outcomes, CPDs, and exams have been successful? Does Council have the capacity and are they willing to assist interns who have met all other CSP pre-reg requirements, i.e. all progress reports submitted and full days completed, but they have a single CPD which has been returned? Will they be able to get assistance before the year ends to ensure that they start ComServe on the 1st of January? My tutor is not able to submit my last progress report. She says that the system gives an error. Is there maybe a system problem? What kind of proof of completion of my master's degree will the SAPC need in order to release me as an intern? Will proof that I have submitted my thesis and I'm still waiting for my mark be valid for my release? How can we submit the application by 23 December if we won't meet the 365-day requirements if we started on 1 January 2022? How does the release work if an intern meets all requirements and reports are met except for the pre-reg exam?
All right, let's leave it there, Natalie. All right, so the first question that was asked was about the contract being terminated 30 days before all the requirements are met. I'm not sure why would the contract be terminated before all the requirements are met, because the intern gets into a contract with a tutor and the contract is valid for 365 days. But if it happens that the contract is terminated, then the intern would have to look for another facility where they can complete the balance or what is outstanding of the practical days if all the other CPD requirements are met. So they have to apply for a session of contract in that instance. All right. The other question was with regard to assistance with CPD. There's a single CPD outstanding. There's assistance. So if you, in terms of the manual, we did publish to say that if an intern struggles with CPD activity, they try to comply with the assessor's comments, but they still can't come right. On the third attempt, they may request the office to organize a meeting between themselves and the assessor. So if you go to the intern manual, you'll see it's there. So you can email us so that we can link you up or connect you with your assessor to advise you on how to remedy, your CPD activity. All right. And then the other question was that my tutor was not able to submit progress reports, system error. It depends when was the tutor trying to do that. Yes, there was a system error a day or two ago, but that system error has since been corrected. So the tutor can now go onto the website to submit your progress report. And then in terms of the proof of masters, for those academic interns who are doing their academic internship, proof that they've completed masters is not the submission of your thesis. We also need an outcome or the marks that have been allocated, because submission does not necessarily mean that you'd be successful. So we need the outcome or confirmation of the results to say that you have successfully completed your thesis. So that is the acceptable evidence that will be required from yourself and the institution. And then the other question is, how can we submit? How can we submit by the 23rd of December? So how can we submit applications by the 23rd of December if the requirement is that we need to complete 365 days before we can apply for CSP? There is a concession that has been made because December is our peak period, so we do allow the system to allow those who have met the CPD or internship requirements to apply early. So I think it's between 7 and 14 days earlier, one is able to apply for registration as a CSP, even though they have not met the requirement for practical training, which is 365 days. However, once you apply, you are still obligated in terms of the contract that you signed with your employer to fulfill, the number of days of internship. So you still need to go to work until the 31st of December 2022. Right. I'm not sure if I answered the questions, all the questions, Natalie. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next page.
Yeah, I think you answered all of them. If an intern has passed the exam and is competent in only 5 CPDs, does this mean that the intern cannot be released for community service? If I do not pass...
Let me quickly answer them as you go. Because sometimes the batch I have to write down, it takes a lot of time. So if the intern is still outstanding CPD activities, they have not met the requirements, so they still need to pass their CPD in order to be released from internship. So if you have 5, you need 6 to be competent in CPDs. Thank you.
If I do not pass my October exam and my post is withdrawn, will I be placed in March, or will I need to wait for the mid-year cycle?
All right,
Okay,
go ahead.
If your post has been withdrawn, it means you have been moved to the future cycle, because like now we are saying there are 100 people who are not placed. If, say, someone declines the post, someone is removed, we then give them the chance to at least match their 5 first choices. So yes, your post will be taken. And you have to apply for future cycle.
When will the results be released for the October pre-reg exam?
The results for the October pre-reg exam, I think the pre-reg exam is still being moderated, but Deanne can maybe speak to that.
Thank you so much. Yes, you are correct. The examination results are under moderation, and we do know that there is an urgency in releasing the results, and we are working towards releasing them as soon as possible. And once the results have been released, ICSP will be informed of the results, so they will have that information of who has passed the exam. Thank you.
In the case that one still owes the university and was therefore unable to attain the degree certificate, can one provide proof of degree completion instead?
Yes, we do. We do accept proof of degree completion as in terms of the regulations. The regulations state we need documentary evidence that the person has successfully completed the qualification. So it could be a letter from the university stating that they could not issue you with a degree certificate as you owe them fees. However, you have been successful and have obtained the BPharm qualification, then we would accept that, right? But as soon as you get that degree certificate, you need to let us know and submit it to us so that we update our records. Thank you.
Can we locum after hours if the facility we are placed at allows it?
Are you locuming at the facility you are placed at or somewhere else? So that would be defined by the employer and employee contract. So normally with CSP, the employer would, because you are restricted to work in the public institutional facility or a facility that has been not accredited but approved as such for community service by the Department of Health. So if it's you would not be breaking the contracts that you have signed between yourself and the employer, but I know that most employers would not permit that you work outside, the employment contract. So I think it's best to stick to where you are placed and complete your internship. I mean your CSP. Then you can do the locums after you've completed your CSP. Thank you.
For those who moved facility, does the system automatically add the days if the session of contract was delayed?
No, the system does not add any dates. So if the session of contract is delayed, you'd have to, or okay, yeah, it does add the days, or we will add the days from the office. I didn't understand the question at first. So for instance, if it was delayed by 7 days, we'll add 7 days, extra for your CSP to complete your CSP. So yeah, we will look at when we receive the application and when you moved from the other facility, then we will add the days or amend the days as depending on when we received your application. So it is advisable that pharmacists submit their application prior to moving to a new facility. Thank you.
I have been placed at a sub-district office, and this does not appear when searching for the sites to verify as a CSP site. Please advise how to verify this site.
Okay, if you are placed on a sub-district, basically the knowledge we have from the provinces is you are supposed to support mostly clinics or facilities that are within that sub-district. So as you get your letter, your contract, it then comes with the facility you are going to. So normally when it's a placeholder, when it's a sub-district, it means some cases as well, you might not be supporting one clinic. It can be 2 or 3 clinics that you are rotating or something. Like if you are in Free State, I can give an example. They have complexes. So when they are talking of complexes, it's hospitals that are close to each other, or the management, even the CEO is one. So in such, they can allocate you under sub-district, and they'll be the ones responsible to tell you where you are supporting.
Should the registration fee and the annual yearly fee be paid together? And if not, when is the annual fee payable?
Thank you. Yes, for registration as a CSP, the annual fee and the registration fee are paid together, so that it doesn't inconvenience you later in the year. So yeah, those are paid together. But in terms of the annual fee for pharmacists, normally it's the 1st of February. By the 1st of February each year, pharmacists should have paid their annual fees. Thank you.
Will the Y number be given when we receive the employment contract? If not, how can we register if the number does not appear on the SAPC website?
All right. Normally when we receive, but Munkatso can correct me, when you receive the employment letter, it doesn't have the Y number. It just has the name of the facility. So you can go on our website to search for the name of the facility as indicated in the last presentation. And then you'll get the Y number of that facility, then apply online for registration as a CSP. So that's how you would get the Y number. But obviously, some appointment letters do have the Y numbers from other provinces. Thank you.
And thanks, Mr. Mohano. Maybe just to add, if the Y number is not provided by the institution or the province where you are allocated, feel free to contact them instead of making a mistake or just choosing any other number. So you are encouraged to, get clarity from the facility if in doubt, or in some cases, they might indicate the trading title that is not necessarily recorded on our side, but then they would have a Y number. So utilize that process to also assist in updating our register to reflect the correct information. So yes, communicate with the relevant provinces or facility to provide the accurate Y number where you are allocated, especially for the sub-districts and that, like Mr. Songwe has indicated. You might find that because you are supporting a number of facility, they might not necessarily indicate the Y number or the facility on your letter. It will just say sub-district. But then as soon as you get the appointment letter, they will specify the facility where you are indicated, and they will also provide you the Y number. So feel free to contact the HR or the head of pharmaceutical service in the province, as well as the RP in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie, can we do like batches of 5? Thanks.
So, if the intern is only writing the pre-reg exam next year, then when will he or she know where they are placed for community service? When can foreign pharmacists graduate from here, who graduated from here, expect to be placed? Refugees, to be specific. If there is any reason that would cause you to possibly start later than January the 1st, should you communicate with the human resources of the facility you are allocated to? And then the ball is in their court to decide if they will wait for you or not. Under my progress tab on the SAPC web portal, the practical days are 5 days behind, showing 314 days. My internship contract was the 1st of the 1st, 2022. It should reflect 319 as from today. Sorry, one more. I don't understand when you say that only those who passed the exam have been placed, because there are people who are placed without writing even a single exam, but those who passed are not placed.
Thank you. Mr. Songo?
Okay. The Human Resources Department, in where you are going to be allocated, they already know that you are a late start because you filled in the date when you were applying, or rather when you were checking your results, and we have notified them. But the problem comes when you lied or you wrote wrong information. What they are now expecting is not what so yeah, we can say you are at their mercy, because they are expecting you from the first because that's what you wrote. So if you are saying it's nothing other than, because in their meetings they are not allowed to attend to anything that's not on the list, because sometimes when they are saying they want someone by the first, and you didn't indicate, by the 7th of January, they notify us, they go on the system and tell us this person didn't start, this one. So if those posts are available and we didn't have people allocated as national, we claim them back, then we reallocate other people. And if you are to then, when they call you and you are saying, I'm only available end of March, we check on the records that you said you are ready by the 1st, then that conflict, it will also cause us not to accommodate you, but to put you into future cycles. When you say people who failed the exam, or rather when you say who didn't write the exam, I would not agree unless the data wasn't correct when you were allocated. I stand to be corrected, because what we got from the Pharmacy Council, I think there were about 700 and something, the number of applicants who made it, who wrote the exam, and it's those applicants who were allocated. But if we have such cases, like I said before, there is a gap, because then as much as you are allocated, you are supposed to produce your allocation letter. The department took this initiative this year because they wanted to make sure, because the provinces were complaining that we are delaying releasing the results. So the reason we managed to take everyone was we wanted to make sure everyone is allocated by the 31st of October. And we are sure there are a lot of people who are going to be removed. So if at all the council is still saying, because like we have sent them the final list we have, if the council is still saying you didn't make it in your exam, if the council is still saying your CPDs are not right, if the council is still saying your theses are not right, trust me, you are still going to be removed, because you can't start by the 1st of January. So if there are such people, it could be maybe an error that took place, but it's still going to be rectified, because you can't be allocated without the release letter from the council. I don't know if there are another question that was focusing on me.
Yeah, I think the other question was placement of refugees.
Okay. That one, I think Mr. Kanyile mentioned, to say, according to the resolution that's there for the Foreign Act, we only allocate, we start by allocating bursary holders. Then we place South Africans. From South Africans, we go to permanent residents. From permanent residents, we go to refugees and foreigners. That's the last group we allocate. So like when we are saying we have 100 South Africans not allocated, we don't attempt to allocate foreigners. So in most cases, foreigners are accommodated at the middle of January if we still have resources and posts. And most foreigners, that's the period, or in the mid-year cycle if they are posts. So we can't accommodate foreigners until all South Africans and permanent residents are allocated. So it also goes then to refugees, then it goes to foreigners.
Thank you. And then there was a question about someone asking about his or her progress tab. It says that practical days or his practical days are 4 days behind. So the practical days are determined by your registration date. So if you applied late, 4 days late, then that will affect your practical days. But if that is not the case, you may just send us an email and we'll look into your profile. Thank you. Natalie, any questions?
We have one last question.
Thank you.
When you apply, you're being asked, when will you commence? Are we placed according to that date or according to our first preference?
Okay, sorry, can you repeat? I didn't hear clearly.
When you apply, you're being asked, when will you commence? Are we placed according to that date or according to our first preference?
Okay, when the algorithm is running, it works with your choices from the first to the last. Then the DQs or the data quality checks that takes place. That's when we go to if you are tagged to say you are going to be you are not ready to start by this date. So the rules that the algorithm considers are, say you have applied with social compact, with personal consideration, you are a bursary holder, you are a South African permanent resident, and so forth. But the commencement dates, we only consider that after. So we don't use that when the algorithm is running, because all we want is, if you say you are ready to start the 1st of January, the 5th of February, the algorithm is just following your choices. It's programmed that way.
Thank you, Mr. Songor. I think that was the last of the questions. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you for availing your time to attend this session. We hope it was fruitful. We've also put in there on the slide there, we've got a survey that would like to run. Maybe if you can complete it and just so that we can just get from it whether you felt that this session was fruitful or not, and how we can improve it in the future. So we'll ask you that you complete that survey for us. And for those that have not yet completed the attendance register, if you can just scan the QR code there to complete the attendance register. In terms of my final words, I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish you well for the remainder of the year. And we hope to see you next year as our colleagues doing community service. So the session ends here. Have a lovely evening and enjoy the rest of the week.
Sorry, I just wanted to say if we still have some who wants to take part in the survey, the one I mentioned earlier, just to indicate in the question and answers, because I was expecting a bigger number that I will use from the pharmacy group.
All right, you heard it for yourself. If you'd like to participate in the survey for ICSP, you may indicate, you may provide your details there on the chat, and that information will be relayed to the Department of Health. All right, we really appreciate your participation. Thank you. So we'll leave this for a few seconds before we close the meeting, so that you can just type in the chat if you want to participate in that survey. Thank you. All right. We have reached the end of the session. Enjoy the rest of your evening and goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.